The crux of the economic argument, as you say, is that ultimately, at its core, if you've got a very generous immigration policy and a very generous welfare state, it's a recipe for disaster. And there's precedence for this. So in the US, from 1850 to 1912 was the biggest era of migration from Europe, and something like 30% of people went back to Europe because they couldn't make it, and there was no welfare state to fall back on. Whereas now that creates just a perverse incentive for people that are net takers rather than producers to come in. So that's kind of the crux of what's in this piece. The last thing I would say that it didn't get into is the cultural cost of immigration outside of economics. And that's another thing that's sort of been the third rail. You can't talk about it, or diversity is always our strength in every circumstance. And that's another thing that I think is now unraveling a little bit, where people are seeing actually it's really difficult to run a harmonious society with just different groups of people with very different cultural backgrounds all trying to coexist.
Now, let's talk about President Trump.